Can I have some intro music?
Nope, you will. Hold on.
Is that too much?
Hold on.
Can it be the Wu-Tang Clan?
Mute. This is TWIS, This Week in Science, episode number 544, recorded on Wednesday, December 9th, 2015. CRISPR or CRISPR? Hey everyone, I am Dr. Kiki, and this is This Week in Science, and tonight we are going to fill your heads with a parasite cure, science-y faults, and an interview. But first...
Disclaimer, disclaimer, disclaimer. The following hour programming contains explicit scientific content, graphic depictions of applied knowledge, and gratuitous reference to recent research. Young children and adults are strongly encouraged to attend. And while you may think this sort of programming is or is not for you, please keep in mind that it does not matter what you think. If you think you will enjoy the show, if you think you will learn something, if you think you will like what you hear, if you think we want you for a listener, if you think there's nothing better than you could do right now, then think along with us on This Week in Science, coming up next.
I've got the kind of mind I can't get enough. I want to learn everything. I want to fill it all up with new discoveries that happen every day of the week. There's only one place to go to find the knowledge I seek. I want to know what's happening. What's happening? What's happening this week in science? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening this week in science?
Good science to you, Kiki and Blair.
And good science to you, Justin, everyone out there, Blair, and to our special guest, Josiah Zayner, who's here to talk all about CRISPR and his efforts at creating a DIY CRISPR kit that you can use at home. So exciting, so exciting, so interesting. So we've got a whole bunch of fun stuff set for the show. Justin, what stories did you bring?
Oh my goodness! So I'm so excited about this interview. I forgot to bring any except for the breaking news on the Toxo gondii front. I've got that, and then a couple of quick correlatives, some perhaps good research, or perhaps just kind of funny correlations in the science news bubble this week.
Awesome. And Blair, what did you bring for the Animal Corner?
Oh my goodness. I brought hormones, bigger is not better, and hippos.
And hippos. I love hippos. Are they hungry hippos?
Oh, they are hungry.
Awesome. And I brought a bunch of stories about some neuroscience research talking about short-term effects and long-term effects. I've got an update on the tardigrade study that we talked about last week. And metal! Maybe it's heavy metal. I don't know. But anyway. So much fun stuff coming in the second half of the show. But first, we have our interview with Josiah, who is here. You'll have to unmute yourself, Josiah. I muted you at the beginning. There we go.
Accidentally? Yeah, right. Come on. We all know the truth.
That's right. On this show, I can't kick people, but I can mute them. That's right. All right. So, Josiah, you are the brainchild behind the Indiegogo campaign for DIY CRISPR kits. Learn modern science by doing. You are a biohacker yourself, and you have a PhD in molecular biophysics from the University of Chicago, studying protein engineering. What in your background got you to the point where you're like, I need to make kits for everybody?
Well, so it was kind of a lot of things, but right now, so I'm a synthetic biologist at NASA right now. And NASA's cool. It's super cool. I'm sure everybody knows that. It's kind of like, always your childhood dream. You want to work at NASA. Oh yeah, I want to do something with space. Actually, I'm kind of too scared maybe to go to space, but
Too
so
smart. Too smart. You're wise man. Wise. I like this guy already. Yeah.
always
A lot of downsides.
want to work at NASA. Oh yeah, I want to do something with space. Actually, I'm kind of too scared maybe. So the funding at NASA.
Too smart. Too smart. You're wise man. Wise. I like
Hold
this
on a
guy.
second. I'm getting some feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah, pause
there's
the video on the live page. There you
I
go.
was like, I thought I already had it paused.
Don't.
Yeah, so working at NASA, I get there, I'm super pumped, and I'm like, let the science begin. Yeah, ready to go. And I start doing stuff, and then I'm like, all right, it's just me. Where's everybody else? It's just me. Where's everybody else? It's just me. Oh wait, the government doesn't want to, pass a budget, so we don't got any money. It's just me, kind of hanging out, and we don't have any money. And then I'm like, how could I get this research done? What could I do to get this research done, right? I can't do it by myself. I mean, I could try, but I'm only one human being, and I don't really have the money to do it. What happens if I could recruit people, teach them science, get them to do science, and they accomplish, all these things, all these goals that we have tried to, put for humanity?
What kind of goals are you working toward? If you can talk about your NASA research, what kind of stuff are you working on?
Yeah, I can talk about it as long as nobody from NASA is watching it. They'd probably fill out like 80 forms.
Yeah.
They'd be like, wait, did you fill out your 1676 form? Oh, shoot, no. Seriously? The government is just like everybody says it is. Like, they waste money on so much stuff, nobody works, and you just have to fill out a ton of forms for everything. Everything. You're like, I got to go to the bathroom. They're like, you want the bathroom key? You got to fill out a form for that.
You have to get the hall pass.
Yeah, you got to get the whole thing.
NASA hall pass.
At NASA, I focused on a couple projects, but my main project in the past year or two has been engineering bacteria for plastic degradation. Most people don't know, but astronauts actually use a lot of plastic, probably about 200 kilograms per person per year.
Wow.
Yeah. So you can imagine that, like, if you send 4 astronauts to Mars, it takes about a year to arrive there. That's 800 kilograms of plastic just arriving there. So you can either throw it out, which, you don't throw out anything in space because everything is so valuable, or you figure out a way to recycle it. So I've been working on engineering bacteria to be able to compost plastic and then use that, like, plastic as like a feedstock for maybe plants or yeast or algae or something.
That's awesome. So in doing this, is there a way to, like you're asking, is there a way to get people to help you figure out how to engineer these bacteria?
Well, so a lot of problems in science aren't just like pure intellectual, right? Some of them are, and right, sometimes it takes lots of training, go to graduate school and things like that, but a lot of science is just like, do I have the hands for it, right? What happens if I could teach somebody how to do what I do, give them a little bit of knowledge, and they could sort of learn along the way? What happens if I had 100 people working on this project with me, right?
Right. And so your Indiegogo campaign, it was very successful. You went way over your goal, and you probably still have people interested.
Oh yeah, no. So then the idea was like, all right, to me, genetic engineering is the future. I grew up in the mid to late 90s. That's why I was joking about IRC, and like I was on IRC all night, every night. I grew up, with all the like programmers, computer hackers in the late 90s. It was, lots of fun, lots of late nights in high school, and lots of bad grades because of it. But I see a lot of similarities now with genetic engineering that I saw. I just saw strengths. I can see a lot of unrecycled plastic accumulating in Lagrange points.
Chat room comments are fantastic.
Yeah, but I can see a lot of similarities between genetic engineering now and computer, like science, computer programming engineering back then. There was a lot of this, like, computers were usually only in academic institutions or companies, and nobody really knew what computers were going to be used for. You know, and you had these group of people who were just like, just give me access. I just want access. You know, that's how kind of how computer hacking started, was like, I just want access to a computer. Give me access to a computer. And, you know, being involved in biohacking, DIY, bio, and science, I see that a lot now. People just contact me or talk to me, and they're just like, you know, how can I engineer a plant? How can I engineer a bacteria? Like, where can I get access to the materials to do that? And I wanted to provide a way to people to have access, because look what happened from, you know, computer hacker movement, open source science, right? Linus Torvalds, the guy who invented Linux, was just a master's student in Finland. If you would ask anybody, who do you think would invent one of the greatest operating systems, you know, of our time? Nobody would have said, some master's student in Finland in his spare time.
Right.
But that's what happened. So what can happen with genetic engineering? Maybe that the same thing could happen. Somebody will be like, you know, do you think that somebody would figure out, solve the problem of, like, plastic degradation, you know, all of our plastic problems or all of our climate problems? You know, who do you think would solve it? Most people would say, oh, you know, somebody at MIT or Harvard. But maybe I think it's somebody in their home who's going to be working on it and figure it out.
Right. So the issue right now is that there are probably so many paths to go down. It's an issue of manpower. And you're saying, and the more people who are working on it, the higher chances are that someone's going to find that answer that we need.
To a certain extent, it's human power, but I also think it's just pure creativity, intellect, genius.
Yeah.
There's so many smart, intelligent, creative people that I've met, you know, that haven't been formally trained, that'll never be formally trained. And I think that giving these people access to things, allowing these people to be able to do these things, you know, we would all benefit from something like that.
So let's talk about the downsides to it. Do you see any downsides? There was just a big summit in Washington, D.C. last week related to gene editing, and you know, the people who were there from all around the world came out and said, okay, you know, this is a great technology. We've got CRISPR's a great technology. We've got some great paths we can go down to help in biomedicine, help people, you know, and potentially genetic editing sometime in the future. But let's just kind of not do that yet because we're not quite ready for it. So, you know, this is people coming together to agree on these things. But if there are a whole bunch of people doing stuff in their kitchens, in their bathrooms, in their garages, basements, wherever, you know, can you continue that analogy with the good computer hackers and the bad computer hackers?
It fits better there than in anything else, right? Because this is how we got the modern computer, in garages. I mean, this is where Apple came from. This is where Microsoft came from. This is where we got those things. Is because I was on the government-sponsored university access internet back in, oh gosh, I want to say like 89, 88. And I found the highest and best use of the thing back then, which was finding a video game to play. And there was an MMORPG with a bunch of text on the screen, and we didn't know it cost like $100 an hour to play this thing, so we stayed up all night over the night, and a friend of mine's professor dad got the bill from the university for like a couple grand. It was like, But yeah, that's right. I mean, that's how the computers came about. They came about in the garage. They came about by tinkerers, by people who wanted to do something other than just a pure business or research model, a pure focused reason for doing it. That's what opened it up.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I would tend to say that I'm kind of like a hacker purist, and there's always going to be bad things that happen no matter what you do, right? I could never come to you and say, oh, you know, nothing bad is ever going to happen. But what I can say is that there's probably some good that's going to happen. And can you discriminate between the two? How do you discriminate between the two? Can you have one without the other? I mean, those are really, you know, maybe crazy philosophical questions, but I think that, you know, you should give people as much access as they can, and in the end, you know, usually you get good things out of it.
But do you think with something like CRISPR, where advances can be made so much more quickly because it's so much more efficient than tools than we've had previously, do you think that there are, and also with biology, where we're talking about life, we're not just talking about digital information where some computers systems can get corrupted, whatever, we're still alive if that happens. What about, I mean, biology? What about something
getting out and breeding with things?
Yeah.
Getting out and breeding with things.
Getting out and breeding with things. That's right.
I've been a genetic engineer for a while and a protein engineer and all these things, and I'll be honest. If you want to engineer a bacteria to kill somebody, it's probably not that hard, right? But you're going to have to hold this person down, force them to drink this like 1 liter solution of the bacteria, force them to keep it down, strap them down so they don't go to the hospital and get any antibiotics, and then hope they die, you know, from, you know, loss of fluids from pooping themselves, throwing up.
So what you're saying is, if you're looking to use this technology for evil, it sort of is like a computer, in the same way that you could lift the old desktop over your head and drop it on somebody.
Totally.
Basically, just as lethal in that context.
It's like way easier to get a gun, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It does kind of sound like a Bond villain way to go about it. Mr. Bond, you're going to have to drink this liter of liquid, and then I'm going to watch you get sick. Actually, I'm going to leave and leave the door open. And just assume.
Like, have diarrhea and like, oh.
This sounds like a terrible movie. I don't think I want to watch
To
this
the
movie.
Bond villain's credit, the only reason he didn't go get a gun is because he's on the no-fly list. And what's that? Oh, that doesn't. You can still buy a gun even if you're on the no-fly list now. I guess. Yeah. I guess the Bond villain wouldn't have any excuse not just to shoot the guy now.
Yeah. So like, it's dangerous, but like to create something that would spread. I always ask people like, number one, say you just, all right, I love, you know, putting myself in the place of a criminal mastermind, and like, let's say you wanted to do this, right? Like, first off, how would you test its spreading? Like, maybe you could test it on like mice, but that's not really that applicable. Would you like kidnap human beings, and then would you have like, you know, a group of humans, and you're like, all right, you know, interact with each other for 5 minutes and go away. Let's see if it transfers. It didn't work, but then they die a day later. Then you have to go kidnap some more humans, and you got to try it again. Like, this would be like, you know.
Right. And there's
nobody would ever notice people going missing in this whole process.
Well, and they might not. That happens.
Right.
But I think there's also a huge amount of faith in this Dr. Evil person, criminal mastermind, which is that they're going to be more successful than many billion years of nature just in their garage, with the resources they can make. So what are the sort of things that you're envisioning that people will be able to do with the technology?
So there's some cool things, right? So right now, one of the things I've been working with, which is super awesome, it both feeds into, everybody's like apocalyptic fantasies and also like my bioengineering fantasies. I've been working with the Open Insulin team at Counterculture Labs in Oakland. And what we've been working on doing is creating like a DIY open source protocol so people could purify insulin. Because you could imagine if there was like a zombie apocalypse tomorrow, you know, insulin is like a temperature sensitive medication, and there are so many people with diabetes, right? If refrigeration, all these things go out, these people are not going to have, you know, much medication to last them a long time. They're going to have to, you know, figure out ways to get insulin on their own. Sure, you could go and kill cows and stuff and try to get their pancreas and like suck it down. But what happened? What happened?
No, I see where you're going. I see where you're going. So if you could corner the market and post-apocalyptic insulin, you would have an army of people who would fight for you to the death, because if they don't, you just cut them off and they die. This is I like this Dr. Evil approach is much better than the other one with the leader.
Oh, this isn't evil. This is then you give it away to people. And then
you just give it away? Oh, there's limited resources in this afterward. You've got to
trade it for some beans or something.
Anything you've got. Yeah, bottle caps or an insulin that can resist temperature changes. But go on.
I'll take 3 bottle caps and a third of a bottle of ancient age.
Here we go.
No, but right? So there are people who are already starting to like break these boundaries of like, all right, can we make medications, right? What boundaries can we cross and can we do at home? So right now, like, who knows what will happen in 5 or 10 years? But right now, you know, people are, you know, they're making medications or working on making medications at home, right? Working on, you know, I guess working on, you know, plastic degrading bacteria and stuff like that. Like, these are protocols that I've developed so people can do this at home, right? It's like,
yeah. No, it's big. I mean, the idea that people would be in control of their own environment, be in control of their own health, be in control of so many aspects of life that right now we're not.
Right. Yeah, definitely the medication thing, I see that being a big benefit, just because there is such, it's not a monopoly, but there's definitely a lot of control that the medical companies have over us, and if we are dependent on a medication to survive, we just have to pay what they're asking.
But if you have bacteria or yeast at home and you have something that can just stick a gene for insulin in, like you were saying, or stick a gene for some other protein or something that your body needs.
no, a lot. So
Manufacture it in little dishes in your kitchen.
Totally. A lot of medications these days are protein. So insulin's a protein, right? A lot of cancer medications and other things are proteins, right? So these are things that can readily, that we, in science, we do all the time. We express proteins in yeast or bacteria, right? So you can imagine somebody just expressing this protein in yeast and then eating the yeast, or expressing it in algae and eating the algae for their medication. And right, there's basically zero cost. Algae can grow off sunlight. They need a little bit of nitrogen, a little bit of CO2 that's already in the atmosphere, right? Like, you're talking totally taking away that market that's cornered, you know, from big companies and academic labs and things like that.
But there is also a safety issue there. People knowing how to do what they're doing so that they're not, you know, so that the algae or the bacteria are healthy for them, are safe.
No, it's true, but I totally understand where people come from that. But right, I just in my mind thinking about it, I personally can't imagine, you know, millions of people just getting this algae, growing it up, and just eating it, and them all dying, right? After that happened, if that happened, it would happen maybe once, and everybody would be like, maybe we should think about this a little bit more. Right? But I don't imagine a world like that, right? I imagine a world where, you know, people can, right? there's either some way to measure the amount of insulin, some protocol or something like that, or people can take little samples and measure their blood glucose as they're taking them, or, you know, I don't know the complete complexities of all these things, right? All I know is that when you give people knowledge, when you give people access to resources, amazing things can happen.
What are some of the kits that you were making available, and are any still available? Is this something that people can still access through the Indiegogo campaign?
Yeah, people can totally still access. If you look up like DIY CRISPR or CRISPR Indiegogo, you might find something online. So the kits allow people, so I set it up so people have like example experiments to do. So they don't need anything. The kits come with everything you need to do these genetic engineering science experiments, right? So they'll come with like a lab grade professional pipette, like all the materials, all the media, you know, the strains of bacteria or yeast, all the DNA and things like that, right? Everything they need to do the experiments. And it allows them to learn. So it has the protocols, and it has the you know, videos and everything like that. It allows people to learn about CRISPR by doing it, learn about genetic engineering by doing it, which up until this point hasn't really been available to people, right? You read about these science things online, and you try to learn about it by, you know, some maybe mediocre New York Times article or something, but now you can actually learn about it by doing the experiments with your physical hands. Like, I think that's freaking crazy. Like, what a time we live in, right?
Right. You don't just read about it; you can actually do it. And the kits are not that expensive. I'm amazed at how inexpensive they are, how affordable they are for what they are.
Yeah, no, that's what I've totally wanted to do, though. Like, obviously, I have to make money to live, but I think that there's something more important than, you know, being god-awful rich, and that is, well, I'll tell you what, you know, I'm like a sci-fi type person, and honestly, I just have this, like, weird goal. Maybe you could call it like a fetish, that like I just want to see some crazy, awesome, amazing stuff in like my lifetime. And like I just like sit there every day and I think about it, you know, in the shower. I'm just like, oh, what if somebody did all these crazy things? Like, oh my God, my life would be so complete.
I love your shower thoughts.
So also, the fear of what people will do with this, we have to understand that when microwaves were invented,
people are still afraid of microwaves. Come on.
To be honest, we
No,
are.
listen, yeah, they're still afraid, but it's become something that a lot of people have in their homes, and it's how communications are relayed, and it's everywhere, right? But Thomas Edison, when he first encountered this, noticed the sort of internal warming effects it had on like his hand, and thought it might be therapeutic, and attempted to use it to cure his own cataracts. And now this is a pretty brilliant guy who was doing some experimentation that went down the wrong path and inflicted a little bit of self-harm. But this is also part of the experimentation. There will be some self-harm done where somebody takes a leap of thinking what something is doing, and their mistakes will always be made. And you know, I totally agree that the benefits well outweigh the risks in allowing open source of science in this.
I do see that there are all of your classroom kits have been claimed, which is fantastic. Oh no, I'm wrong. No, none of your classroom kits have been claimed. So there are classroom kits available if anyone is interested in having a kit of enough stuff for 20 kids, for 20 people in a classroom, for glow-in-the-dark bacteria or light-controlled bacteria kits.
Or if you're an educator, honestly, my number one goal is really, like I said, it's to see people do science and see them do something amazing, because it warms my soul so much. That keeps me going is when I see something amazing and inspiring. And so like if you don't, I know a lot of schools and classrooms don't have money. People contact me all the time. I just sent some free stuff to some school in California last week. Like, contact me. I am willing to, jump large hurdles, maybe. I don't know, to help you out.
So there are two different ways to go there. If you're an educator, talk to Josiah. If you are someone who wants to sponsor a classroom, talk to Josiah. I think they take both directions, one place. And also, if you want your own genetics lab, I'll set you up with your own genetics lab.
I will.
Pretty amazing.
A lot of people have. I'm surprised how many people have purchased that and like are just totally like, yeah, I just want to learn genetics and I just want to start doing some experiments, and I'm just like, that is so awesome. Like, I'm so excited to help you out.
That's great. So, where can people find you online? I've shared the link for your Indiegogo campaign in our chat room, but where can people find you?
I mean, if people just look up my name, you can Facebook friend me. I'm sure you can find my email, right, or something. It's all over. Just contact me in any way. I do my best. I respond. I try to respond to everybody within like 24 hours. You'll get something from me. Even if you're crazy, you'll probably hear at least a little bit from me.
Fantastic. And I just want to know, do you or don't you experiment on the cats? You have cats.
Yeah, so I have the one cat you saw earlier, James. Hey, James, come here. Come here, James. Come here. Oh, he's not coming. He's right there, but I think he's a little camera shy. Anyway, so James only has one eye, and I've been going for this mad scientist thing. I'm going to grow him a new eye. I really believe I can. You can actually see him if you watch the Indiegogo video. James is the orange cat in the video. You can see him in there.
And speaking of cats, we will be talking about cats, I'm sure, in the second half of This Week in Science. It's time for us to take a short break. Josiah, thank you so much for all of your wisdom and your enthusiasm and the information about what you're doing. I think it's fascinating, and I know a lot of people who are very excited by it.
Yeah, shoot me an email, anybody. Contact me on Facebook or something, Twitter, wherever. You want to chat. If you have some crazy ideas, just let me know.
Wait a sec. I'm looking through the perks. I know, we're about to leave. We're about to go out, and this is always what delays the show, is me running my mouth. For $5,000, I can get guided through creating my own organism?
Heck yeah!
Do I get to name it whatever I want?
Totally.
What a great... This is an anniversary present. This is a Christmas present. This is the best birthday present anybody could ever get. Forget I named a star that was already there and nobody bothered to notice it. I just put your name on it. Somebody else probably did too. No.
Oh, and the internet banned him.
You froze.
That's so brilliant. I love that. Yeah. I love this.
Perfect Christmas present for your loved one. Instead of a BMW or one of those other things.
Yeah.
A $5,000 BMW would have to have 30,000 miles on it, I guess. And then it's right there.
The gift that keeps on giving.
I made you an organism.
That would be creepy and cool at the same time.
I also got you a microscope so you could look at it.
You'd have to. Oh, good gracious. See, there are all these things we have to start thinking about that we've never had to think of before. You make somebody an organism, you got to get them a microscope or something. Yeah.
It's like if you give a mouse a cookie,
Right.
but a different version of that.
Different.
Wait, what happens if you give a mouse a cookie?
Then you have to get him some milk.
Oh, you do.
It's a very long book. The children's
Okay, I know
book.
that
Look
one.
it up.
It's good. It's a good book. Oh, on that note, this book is not over. This Week in Science will be back in a few moments. If you are interested in looking for the Indiegogo CRISPR campaign while we are on our break, you can search for DIY CRISPR kits. Learn modern science by doing. Josiah Zayner has been our guest. He is also, what's your Twitter handle? For Love of Science on
Yeah.
Twitter. For Love of
That's a good
Science on Twitter. It's a good one. And we will be back in just a few moments with lots of science for you. Stories. There's a story about cats. It affects cats and babies, maybe. Up next, This Week in Science. We'll be back. Calendars, calendars, calendars. The 2016 TWIS Blair's Animal Corner calendar. We've got them still. There are a few left. The numbers are dwindling rapidly as we get toward the end of the year. But if you want one of these wonderful, beautiful calendars, which people who have already received them will attest to their gloriousness. I'm not the only one who thinks they're awesome. Blair got hers. Yay! These calendars are pretty sweet, man. We've got Squirrel Appreciation Day in there. You got to get the calendar to find out when that is. And it lets you know when TWIS is. So if you ever forget that it's every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific time, it tells you every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific time, that you should be watching TWIS. And it also lets you know if we're going to be having fun-themed shows or anything like that. It's a great calendar, original artwork by Blair, and you can get it. Just go to twis.org and click on the link for the calendar. Also, if you go to twis.org, it is the holiday season. I know Hanukkah gifts are being given out at the moment. How about a TWIS t-shirt or a hat or a mug or something like that? Planning for Christmas? Go to our Zazzle store, twis.org. We've got our Zazzle store, lots of swag there. It helps us out, and it'll help you with the gift giving of the season for your TWIS lover, which might just be yourself. That's okay. Additionally, if you would like to support us another way, TWIS is supported by listeners like you. So if you are able to donate any amount of money you are able to give, helps us do everything that we do. We try to do everything we need in order to do this show. Any amount helps. We have two ways for you to donate. You can donate via PayPal. We have buttons all over our website to make it really quick and easy for you. If PayPal's not your thing, you can also donate using Patreon. Patreon is kind of like a Kickstarter for media producers, where it allows you to be a patron of the media producing arts. And so you can support us on an ongoing basis per episode for as long as you want. On and on and on and on, and keep supporting us episode by episode by episode, because we'll keep making them as long as we can. Whichever your preference, head over to twis.org, listen to a show, make some comments, and click on one of those links to Patreon or PayPal. If you listen to us on iTunes, also another way that you can help us out, doesn't cost you anything, is just posting a review of TWIS. Give us 4 stars, 5 stars. Tell people what you like about TWIS, and the thumbs up all over the place. Reviews help us get new listeners, and bringing more people in to the TWIS minion fold will really help us out in the long run. So if you can use your social networks also for TWIS, help us. Help tell people about science. That's what we try to do. That's what we try to do. We thank you for your support, whichever way you can support us. We really couldn't do this without you.
It sucks out the bad juices and leaves no bad bruises. It simply deduces the proper percentage of X in your brain. This miracle cure leaves no permanent pain. And still, you can't believe what a skeptic I am. I can't believe you believe in that plan. We disagree, but I still give a damn. Your astral projection.
And we are back with more This Week in Science.
Oh, yeah. All right, Justin, tell me a story.
Okay, so for those of you who are longtime listeners to this show, T. gondii needs no introduction. But the quick intro goes something like this. Toxoplasma gondii is a brain parasite transmitted by cats that can also be found in raw meat. Around 30% of the population is already infected. That's human population. Cat infection rates likely much higher as they're the primary host and the only place in which this parasite reproduces. It has been linked to miscarriages and blindness in babies if the mother is infected, which is the reason for the pregnant women warnings on cat litter. It's not actually the cat litter that poses a threat, but cat feces pregnant women need to be wary of. It is linked to certain forms of schizophrenia, aka cat lady. It is linked to slower reaction times, increased accidents for drivers with certain blood types, which is sort of odd. Linked to personality changes in humans and in rats because it makes rats attracted to the scent of cat urine. But now Melbourne researchers have discovered how the parasite Toxoplasma gondii hijacks host cells and stockpiles food so it can lie dormant for decades. This part I didn't quite know. It can lie dormant for decades.
Yeah, it just gets in your brain and it goes, I'm going to go to sleep now.
Biding my time.
Yeah.
I'm just going to wait until the time is right.
Yeah, and it possibly is, it can change the host's behavior or personality in the process of taking up residence in the brain. So this whole like lying dormant for decades thing is something that's it is a little bit new to me. I thought there was a period of time in which it would be there and then die off, but the fact that it can lie dormant for decades explains why also people who have immune problems like an HIV thing, right, where they're in the hospital and their immune system is compromised, can fall victim to effects from Toxoplasma gondii infection because now the things realizes, hey, opportunity to leave the house because the defenses are down, and that's what it does. It can actually present itself as somebody is compromised. So this is Dr. Chris Tonkin. He's saying Toxoplasma required a human host cell, such as brain neuron, to live in. The research team discovered how the parasite hijacks that actual host cell to enable its own growth, survival, and that hibernating for decades even. Toxoplasma infection leads to massive changes in the host cell to prevent immune attack and enable it to acquire a steady nutrient supply, he says. The parasite achieves this by sending proteins into the host cell that manipulate the host's own cellular pathways, enabling it to grow and reproduce, which is also interesting. It was only supposed to be reproducing in cats, right? And then Dr. Justin Body says some of these proteins might influence the behavior of the host. There is a fascinating association between Toxoplasma infection and psychiatric diseases, including schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. It is now possible to test whether proteins sent from the hibernating parasite into the host neuron disrupt normal brain function and contribute to development of these diseases. Once the parasite establishes infection, it could be with us for the rest of our lives. This is like a whole new thing. Like this was not part of my understanding, even though I've been talking about this for years. Dr. Tonkin said the teams had identified pathways that allow the parasite to establish chronic infections, unveiling potential avenues for treatment that clear the dormant parasites, clearing not just the active infection, but this dormant stage infection. We discovered that, similar to animals preparing for hibernation, Toxoplasma parasites stockpile large amounts of starch when they become dormant. By identifying and disabling the switch that drives the starch storage, we found we could kill the dormant parasites, preventing them from establishing the lifelong chronic infection. Hope to use our discoveries to develop a vaccine that stops cats transmitting the parasite to prevent these potentially catastrophic consequences.
Catastrophic.
Catastrophic. Very nicely done. Yeah. So someone on Twitter posted a link to this story as well, and their spin was, oh, we've cured it. We've already come up with a cure, and so basically we got to do some reality checking here, and like what you just said, it's not a cure yet, but now we have a signal that we know how toxoplasma communicates with the body to allow itself to go dormant, to survive, to propagate, all of the safely without being attacked, right? And so now that we know the signal, we can just hone in on the signal, and that might be a vaccine target.
Yes, and now we just need either funding to complete this research, or people at home with the ability to do some specific genetic tweaking oriented to this to make this discovery.
I'm wondering, is there like a DIY test I could do on myself or something? How do I get tested?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I don't know if there is a DIY test. I know that you can get there is a test you can go that's available through doctors, through labs, but
for the active infection.
For the active infection. But there's no way to pick up. Yeah. Usually when they find, it's after somebody dies and they find out that there were cysts in the brain, or somebody starts to have seizures for some reason, and the cysts are getting in the way.
It looks like just too late when you find out. Oh man.
It's either too late when you find out, or just nobody thinks to check.
Or it's that's just like in Brazil, I think something like, is it something 75% of the population is thought to carry toxoplasma?
And they have
I might be wrong on the number, but it's
a very large number. They have the highest rate of child blindness, born blindness, as a direct result of toxo infection.
Yeah, so some places it's just not tested for. Here in the United States, it's really not tested for because it's not as big of a problem, or, we're not a third world country, so we think that people are cleaner.
It will be, but it will be part of the barrage of tests if you have been diagnosed with schizophrenia, because it's one of the known causes.
Right, but if you're just kind of acting very antsy and driving poorly and having bad impulses that are potentially self-deprecating, it's not necessarily what people are going to jump to and go, oh, toxoplasmosis.
Right, and some of it we may have been so long infected that we just assume is natural. For instance, one of the effects is that it can give women guilt issues, right? Make them a little bit emotional about regret, right? It can give men a certain affinity towards novelty, right? Like, some of these things
sounds like a midlife crisis, doesn't it?
It could. I mean, a lot of these things blend into what we already think are sort of normal in society. You got to have that new gadget. You might want to also go get a brain parasite scan just to see if that's why you have to have that new thing.
So, in answer to your question of whether or not there is a DIY test, you and probably people who have signed up to get your full lab kit, there's a study entitled "Use of the Polymerase Chain Reaction to Detect Toxoplasma gondii in Human Blood Samples," and this comes from DIYBiodC.org, and they say that you detect the presence of the B1 gene or the P30 gene of the parasite.
I'm writing that down. Wow, that's awesome.
So there is a blood test that you can do if you have the ability.
Just because I want to test myself, first off.
Yeah. This is fantastic.
Oh no. Yeah. So we'll see what ends up happening with the. It seems as though.
I'm going to send the kit to Justin, though, because I want to see him get freaked out when he finds out he has it.
No. I'm terribly afraid of this because I in my youth, I had cats. And I thought,
definitely have it.
And I thought I had survived because, I haven't had cats for many decades now. But now that I'm learning that it could still be there dormant, waiting for me to get a really bad case of the flu, now I'm concerned again.
I don't know. The toxo research seems to be ramping up. It seems like there are more and more people working on the parasite and trying to learn about it and how it works within the human ecosystem, how its life cycle works entirely in its entirety, and how we can help ameliorate some of the health issues that humans have as a result of it. So I don't know, it's very exciting. But yeah, if DIY bio kits, people could actually PCR and find out whether or not they've got it. It could be the first step is knowing whether or not you have that active infection. Yeah.
That's true.
A story from last week, we talked about the tardigrades very briefly. It was a big story. Everyone was very excited about it because we love the water bears. We love these little freshwater aquatic creatures that can survive in outer space. They're just amazing, yes. So researchers had published a study that they found around 6,600 of the animal's genes had come from bacteria and plants and other foreign sources. And so they speculated this was horizontal gene transfer that occurred during the desiccation and remoistening.
Remoistening. Rehydration?
Rehydration. Thank you. That was the word I needed. Yeah. So anyway, right on the tail of that, a second team from the University of Edinburgh has released a preprint of their paper, and the results are completely different.
Oh, no.
They found that very few genes were horizontally transferred, only about 36, and maybe 500 at the maximum. And they figured out that they have determined that because of the sequencing technique that the other team used, they probably sequenced bacteria and other genes that were just in the fluid that the tardigrades were held in.
But I thought they
were messy.
eliminated that. That was the whole point of what they were saying. Boo.
Yeah.
They were sloppy, is what it looks like. There's some
It seems so.
name calling going on in the scientific realm right now.
So these two teams were working in parallel on the tardigrade genome and trying to get their work published. However, the first team from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill beat the Edinburgh team to the punch. They say, and it actually has been said by outside sources that they did use very stringent techniques, and they knew that there was potential problem of getting foreign sources of DNA that were not actually held within the tardigrade genome. They knew this could be a problem, so they went through all sorts of steps to try and make that not happen. Yeah, and they still got that massive result, which is why they rushed to publication. They're like, we worked really hard, we thought we kept everything clean and everything was good, so whoa, this is crazy. Now the University of Edinburgh team is saying, well, we've looked at it a different way, and there's just no way. So this is science in action. This is one of these studies where it's exciting to actually see this communication happening, that the fact that these researchers are going, okay, you did something wrong. We think we did ours right, so now we have to put our heads together and maybe even get outside teams to corroborate one or the both of our studies to figure out exactly what happened.
That's what I was going to say. This means 10 more studies.
I hope so.
Immediately I'm thinking the less outrageous claim is likely the right one.
Yeah.
Which is too bad. I would have preferred 2 outrageous claims. That would have been much more exciting.
Yeah, so there may have been some unintentional bias in the North Carolina research findings. We don't really know, but I think this is good news for science because of the digital infrastructure that we have now. The researchers who got their research out first, that was seen quickly by the second set of researchers, they were able to get a preprint online so that people could look at it and this communication could take place in the open. So this is science. It's awesome.
Right. Someone in the chat room is asking too, is it the same tardigrade species in both studies? we would assume that it was. But
Yeah.
the other thing that I'm wondering is...
And they got their tardigrades from the same source.
Okay, that was my next question. And then the other part was if they had been desiccated, these individuals, the same number of times, to the same degree, for as long.
That I don't know.
These are all relevant factors because if you were desiccated further or for longer, more DNA may have broken apart that may have caused this transfer that they were talking about from the desiccation.
But I thought this transfer was supposed to have taken place throughout evolution.
Yeah, this is throughout evolution. Yeah.
It wasn't recent. It wasn't just like this just in. It was.
Yeah. That's true. I do think there are different factors, though, at play, especially if there was some sort of contamination. You want to see if certain things happen the exact same way in both studies. That's why I said 10 more studies.
No, I think it comes down to not sharing pipettes.
Oh shoot! Am I not supposed to use the same pipette?
No, it's.
Oh darn.
Yeah.
Does anybody
harsh your
know
sample? What
was like the closest human ancestor between tardigrade? Like, did we evolve along the same path, or is it different? Because I'm kind of thinking, like, don't we all have a little bit of bacteria in us?
I would say, yeah, probably a small degree, yeah.
I'm just wondering, like, where did we diverge from the tardigrade? Number one, because I think it would be awesome to look like a bear with, armor. But two, just scientifically.
I think, part of it is when we became really multicellular. That's probably one big step in there. But
right. I do think they still aren't sure because the tardigrades classification has changed a couple times.
Right.
And even recently they gave them a new classification. So I think they're still trying to figure out at what point there were these teeny tiny multicellular organisms or if they were big multicellular organisms that shrank down to water bear size. I think it's still not clear, especially because you're going to be pretty hard pressed to find a fossil of a tardigrade.
Absolutely, yeah.
They're squishy and small.
Yeah, I mean, really, what we're doing is we're trying by getting the genome. That's how we're trying to look back in time.
Right, but if we can't even figure out what part of the genome is tardigrade and what is the messy pipette, that kind of makes it difficult.
It's gonna happen. It's going to happen.
Yeah, we're getting there.
We're getting there. We're getting it all cleaned up. Another kind of sticky issue with relation to scientific studies has to do with studies of the brain. And historically, when we've been trying to figure out how the brain works and what behaviors are related to particular areas of the brain, we've used brain lesions to do it. So you get an animal or you have a person who has had some brain trauma that has specifically damaged a very small portion of the brain, lesioning a very small portion so that portion does not work anymore. So henceforth, in perpetuity, the behaviors that area of the brain is responsible for, they don't happen anymore. You don't get it. So you have people like HM who had amnesia for the rest of after an accident took place. You have people like Fred Gage, who got a railroad pipe through his head and became aggressive and not really a nice person after his accident. There are things that we do to figure out how parts of the brain work. Well, recently we have developed techniques like one called optogenetics, in which we transiently change the activity of very small specific brain areas. And a new study that was just published in Nature suggests that we might really want to take a second look at those studies, because through an accident, there was an experiment gone wrong, according to Olvexi, who's Bence Olvexi of Harvard University, who's the head of this study. They had a surprise after that. They were investigating transient inactivation of the motor cortex in rats and how the rats learned how to press a lever twice after receiving a reward. During one of the inactivations, though, where they put a precision injection of neurotransmitter inhibitor into the cortex to see how that affected the cortical activity. It didn't quite work. The animals didn't do things the right way. And so instead of taking those animals out of the analysis, they decided to do a permanent lesion on those animals in a target area and then compare it to others. And basically what they found is that the animals with the permanent lesion ended up performing the task, pressing the lever totally normally. They learned how to do it the way that a normal animal would. However, those that continued to receive that neurotransmitter inhibitor in their cortex, they could not learn how to do this task. They never learned how to do it. So you would think permanent lesion and transient inactivation both should not be able to do the task, right? So something is going on there. And so the researchers said for some time after I realized the lesion didn't have an effect, we were quite disappointed because it wasn't what we had hypothesized. But then we felt like we had to follow up on it, and so they did. And they looked at rats and zebra finches, and they looked more closely at this discrepancy between the permanent lesion and the transient manipulations, the transient inactivations. And they found that this transient inactivation may simply be because it's a transient effect, another area of the brain might be affected as well. Whereas if it's a permanent inactivation, that area of the brain is just gone, and the brain is just going, the rest of the brain is going to work as normal all the time. However, during the transient inactivation, it could be affecting all sorts of other areas because the brain is just like, what's going on? Why is this part of my brain not working? And so it's kind of like an off-target effect within the brain. And so the results of these optogenetic experiments and these transient manipulation experiments that researchers have gotten into doing recently, because they seem much more elegant than a lesion to the brain, they could be actually not really looking at what they want to be looking at. Like, they could be finding faulty information. And so there are a lot of studies that maybe should be done over.
So don't we think also it's possible that it has to do with the fact that if you remove a part of the brain, if you have the permanent lesion, then your brain figures out how to work around what's missing. And if it's a temporary problem, the brain won't figure that out.
Right, because it doesn't have time to reassess the pathways. Right. And I mean, with a permanent lesion, if something is responsible for something and that's gone, then that ability will go away. However, if it's a temporary thing and the brain is just confused all of a sudden, So anyway, it's an interesting thing. Researchers got to be thinking about interesting things. Yeah. All right. I think it's that time. Kind of late, but let's get into the animal corner. Oops, I turned it down.
Great and small. Live pig, little pig, no pet at all. Wanna hear about animals? She's your girl. Except for giant pandas and squirrels. An animal corner.
What you got, Blair?
Well, speaking of how scientists test things, it's like the perfect segue, because let's talk about oxytocin for a second.
Okay.
Oxytocin, the love hormone. We have reported on so many studies with oxytocin and how it affects animals' social behavior, how it could help relieve PTSD, all these different things that oxytocin could help with. And it over and over it has been characterized as the love hormone or the cuddle hormone or all these different things. Well, it turns out, looking at a new study out of UC Davis, that it might actually be highly dependent on if you're looking at male or female individuals, because they respond to oxytocin very differently. So in males, if males were bullied, these were mice, if they were bullied by an aggressive mouse, that caused them to be hesitant around other mice afterwards. Given oxytocin, that increased motivation for social interaction. This is what we historically have seen with oxytocin. However, when they stressed out females, the oxytocin had no effect. And when they took non-stressed females and gave them oxytocin, social motivation was reduced. So this was a very unexpected result out of this study. And the reduced social motivation started to look kind of like depression in these mice. So it's actually possible that the oxytocin could be doing the opposite of what we think it does in females.
So in males, it makes them socially motivated, everything's fine.
Mm-hmm.
So a little bit of cuddling and a little happy, they're like, okay, let's go. And in females, they're like, yeah, okay, I got my love. I'm gonna stay home.
It could be that, or it could just further stress them out. They could not respond well to oxytocin at all. And in fact, clinical studies with humans have found that women with depression or PTSD have elevated oxytocin. And previously, that had been attributed to an increased drive for social support. But now, it might actually be the result of stress.
But okay, all right. Females, oxytocin, bonding hormone, breastfeeding,
Right.
like all the stuff that goes along with pregnancy and the increase in oxytocin release in the brain and the body as a result of pregnancy and bonding with your child. Really?
Yeah, so this is where it starts to fall apart. And I completely agree with you, and that's why I wanted to talk about this story, because standalone, very interesting study, very interesting situation to where we kind of maybe should be looking at this a little bit closer, what gender we're using in these studies. However, yeah, when you look at what we've seen with parenting and that kind of love hormone and the oxytocin release after mating that's supposed to be a bonding effect and all of these things that we have studied in females before. So it's possible that there's just another level that oxytocin is more complicated. It's not a black and white. And I think that that's really what is to be taken out of this, is that oxytocin is not across the board, cuddle, blissful love hormone. There's more going on there. And as far as we can tell with males, it's kind of across the board.
Okay,
But
so
with females, there's more going on there with their oxytocin.
or less going on. Maybe what it's indicating is that women don't actually like to cuddle as much as men do, and that when they are wanting to cuddle more, it's more of a manipulation thing. It's more of a control issue than an actual love feeling.
Wow.
There's
I'm
hold
just
on.
saying that's possible based on. I'm not
You don't have
making
all the
the
facts yet. There's
data
one more.
that we're starting with. I'm just saying maybe that's what's going on.
There's
wow.
one
Are you
more
getting back at me
element.
for things I said during the
What
finish
did
line last week?
No, that has nothing to do with you.
Okay,
No,
hold on.
I'm just-
There's one more element to this story. Okay, and this is really important. I think this actually might make it all make sense. Are you ready? The surrounding environment influenced the effects of the oxytocin in the female mice. If they were tested in familiar cages instead of a new environment, the oxytocin reduced stress in both sexes. However, if it was an unfamiliar environment and or an unfamiliar person administering the oxytocin, that's when it caused stress in the females. And so at the end of the day, the researchers think that A, you must include both genders in hormone studies. This is important. We would assume that was happening anyway, but apparently a lot.
Don't assume these things. No.
Yeah, a lot of oxytocin studies have been only male test subjects before. So moving forward, we need to look at both genders because it's not a black and white issue. B, it depends quite a bit on environment and the person administering the oxytocin, which means if you extrapolated this to humans and you're trying to treat someone with PTSD, you can't have a nurse they don't know coming in and giving this person oxytocin, because if it's a female, that could stress her out. But if it's a loved one or a familiar person or their normal practitioner, that might have a different response. So it's a lot more complicated, the effect of the oxytocin in females than we previously thought.
Are you saying that women are complicated, Blair?
Yes. Yeah. Definitely.
Oh, definitely.
This sounds like a lot of excuse me.
You know what else is
bonding's
complicated?
just more complicated. What else is more complicated? Let's move on.
Figuring out how long you're going to live. Also figuring out how tall you're going to get.
Oh, yeah.
These are two things that are very difficult to predict. Well, it turns out they're linked. We know, for example, let's look at dog breeds. Jack Russells can live 15, 16 years. Great Danes, they live about 8 tops.
Right.
So overall, when you look at a species, the larger species live longer than the smaller species. But within the species, in individuals, the bigger ones live shorter lifespans. And researchers recently were trying to figure that out from University of Glasgow, and their theory is it's all in the telomeres. It's always the telomeres, guys. Always.
Always the telomeres.
But
Yeah.
so,
Is that why Andre the Giant died so young?
yeah, so that could be directly related to that. There were other things involved. I know he had blood pressure problems because he was so big, and there were lots of elements of being a human that large that humans are just not supposed to be that big. But that could be part of this as well. And that's that just the sheer act of growing so large so fast makes your cells divide fast and often. And when our cells divide, that's when our telomeres start to break off the end. So telomeres, for those of us that haven't heard me talk about them a million times, are the repeating sequences of essentially junk data at the end of chromosomes that as we grow and our cells replicate, and as we grow older, those repeating nonsense fragments start to get shorter. They kind of lose those. Our DNA replication isn't perfect. And so when we start to see the effects of old age, when people die of old age, that's usually due to the fact that your telomeres are gone and now we're chopping off important data at the end of that. So when you are growing so fast and so large, your cells are duplicating so fast that you lose the telomeres more rapidly, exactly, than you would if you were growing at a normal rate. So you would think bigger is better in terms of survival, but when we're talking about dying from old age, bigger is not better.
So if you could genetically engineer your offspring with just longer telomeres.
Yeah. That's the key. I think we all want really long telomeres.
Right. Forget the choosing an eye color or whatever.
Yep.
Really long telomeres.
Let me just make those telomeres so long.
Yeah. So
They'll
that
just look ridiculous.
ridiculously long.
Wait. What if you could have like wings or something? You say you'd want longer telomeres instead
Yeah. Because okay.
Yeah, me too.
Because you know what the telomeres is the thing that's telling us that we can keep growing if we want to, and we can live longer. But wings, it might be like, oh, but the side effect of wings is you live 8 years.
Fly and be really awesome?
For 8 years, and then you die. But we know telomeres will give us, because I'm somebody who's done everything in my life by attrition. Never been that quick or that good or that fast right off the bat. I've needed time to figure stuff out. So I need the telomeres. I just need more time to figure everything out, and then I'll get to a good place.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so before we leave the corner, I'm just going to do my quick stories, bam, bam, real fast on our way out of here because it's so late.
Yeah.
So hippos, we know them as these gentle giants that also kill a lot of people, but are mostly herbivores. Well, a recent study trying to figure out why they keep falling ill to anthrax breakouts show that hippos eat a lot of meat, and in fact, eat a lot of hippo meat.
Oh, cannibal hippos.
Cannibal hippos.
They don't even have the teeth for the hippo
Nope,
eating.
they just swallow it down.
Wow.
So hippos, we need to look at them a little bit closer, which it would make sense
Or
if they
further from further away.
Right. It would make sense if they eat meat because their closest relatives are whales, which are all meat eaters. So anyway, hippos, maybe not so unassuming herbivores that we thought. Kiwis, another unassuming, adorable little flightless bird, the national emblem of New Zealand. right? They just eat little worms and seeds and stuff. Well,
They're so cute.
they have been footage has been captured with a kiwi destroying a robin nest, kicking the babies out of the nest, and pecking them to death.
What?
They didn't eat them because they just eat worms. Most
Oh,
likely the kiwi
kiwi.
attacked this nest because the robins like to take kiwi feathers and line their nest with them. And kiwis have an excellent sense of smell. They're the only birds with nostrils on the tip of their beak. And so they could have smelled the kiwi feathers in this robin nest and attacked it because they thought it was a infringement on their territory. So this is definitely something that we want to, in New Zealand, set up camera traps everywhere, try to figure out if this is just a freak accident or if kiwis are doing this, because this is not how we thought kiwis worked.
This is not how we think kiwis work out at all.
Nope. So hippos and kiwis, to be continued. Savage beasts.
Savage kiwi beasts destroying.
Just imagine a tiny little kiwi, yay high, with his little nubs for wings, so tiny you can't even see him, just kind of walking around real fuzzy, chomping down some worms, and then killing baby robins.
But why? But why?
Maybe it's because
So
they
much-
like to sleep late and the robins were being noisy.
Yeah.
So much research needs to
Lots
be
of-
done.
Yeah.
All right, this is This Week in Science. We have a couple of minutes left for some quick stories. Justin, you have a quick one?
I got two correlative stories that caught my eye this week. One, plus-size models in advertising linked to rising obesity rates. It's very correlative and associative, but it is saying that it does seem as though creating that all about that base image as healthy in the media is leading more people to perhaps choose that as a body style. Also says that this does not mean in any way, shape, or otherwise form that body shaming, stigmatization of body types ever was helpful as a motivation to losing weight, but just that the acceptance of larger body waist sizes and the like seems to be going along with the trend.
Right.
Also, the other one was an increase in alcohol tax appears to have decreased gonorrhea rates in Maryland. The tax increase in Maryland was only 3 cents to the dollar, which was increased from the tax increased from 6%, which has been the sales tax rate on alcohol, to 9%. So they added 3 more cents to the dollar in alcohol, and yet saw a decrease in 24% in Maryland's gonorrhea rate. And they went through all 50 states worth of data on reporting of the disease. They went 102 months prior to the tax, 18 months after the tax. They said that they could not find any differences across age, race, or ethnicity, or gender, and the lack of difference across various demographics suggests the tax may have influenced all these individuals similarly.
All right.
One
Tax
sort
on
of
my
interesting
alcohol.
Right. One sort of interesting thing. If
Let's not have it.
if this is actually a correlative, they say that the Center for Disease Control Prevention's main effort in STD prevention has been condom distribution, but perhaps taxing alcohol could also not only generate some revenue for a local city, but also help tackle disease.
Correlation, not causation, but that never stopped anyone before. All right, how about, let's go heavy metal, everybody. How about a car fueled by iron powder instead of gasoline?
Brilliant.
Wouldn't that be awesome? Researchers have published in the December issue of Applied Energy that they are looking into external combustion engine designs to burn metal powders instead of gasoline to power all sorts of engines. And they've got a bunch of different designs, putting forward a bunch of different ideas. Their next step is building a prototype, and the idea is to develop a metal recycling process, because these are metals, they can be recycled, they're not just completely done for, and potentially developing something that does not involve CO2 emissions is going to be a big part of what they try to do, because that would be the whole reason to start using metal instead of gas, is to reduce the CO2. Yes?
There wouldn't be a harmful exhaust from burning metal?
Yeah, there are questions.
That doesn't sound good. That doesn't sound like something I want to breathe.
I think this is just, prototype needs to be built.
That sounds pretty painful.
Yeah, well, if
Getting the black lung from just walking on a street.
Yeah, so you don't. If used in vehicles or even in industry, something like this could be even more. At least it could be more polluting to the atmosphere, not necessarily causing more of a greenhouse effect, but just more polluting in general. So, burning metal powders, we do it in fireworks, solid fuel rocket propellant. There's lots of stuff that we've used it for. So. It's not new, but using it in this particular way with an external, like I said, external combustion engine. So it's a different design of an engine too. Kind of the interesting point here. So try it. Let's do some experiments, scientists.
In a closed laboratory, please.
Yeah, with the hoods on.
Yeah.
So, negative air pressure, right?
Safety first, people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my final story for the day: we are not living in a hologram, probably.
Oh, that's good. Thank goodness.
Yes. Yeah, so we've told the story before. Researchers have put forward the notion that related to string theory, that we are potentially living in a hologram. It comes from holographic theory. If you want to look into that, we've talked about it on the program many previous times. So anyway, researchers were like, hey, this holographic principle, that can actually be tested. So they put together a $2.5 million holometer at the Fermilab Research Accelerator Laboratory, Fermi National Accelerator Laboratory. They have reported that after doing testing, they have found absolutely no evidence of us living in a hologram. So they have a null result for their experiment.
Good.
So, yeah. This doesn't mean that the question is completely closed, just that this experiment found no evidence for it.
Right.
Hologram, so far, not supported. Good. So, you can keep doing as you have been doing and not be concerned about your so-called holographic life.
So there is a spoon. What you're saying.
Hang on. The other thing is, that same experiment, you're leaving this out, and I think this is important. That same experiment failed to prove, or was not in its attempt to prove, that we live in a three-dimensional universe either.
That is correct as well. So
Wasn't something they were addressing.
You can't prove anything with an experiment. You can only disprove things, Justin.
I know.
It didn't disprove that we live in a three-dimensional world. That's right. Oh, you guys, have we done it? Have we made it?
I think we're there.
I think we've done it.
We made it through the whole show. All right, everybody. Thank you for watching us, and thank you, Josiah, for joining us on the show. It's been fun having you here. It's my time to thank all of our Patreon sponsors. Thank you to Kevin Parachan, John Ratnaswamy, Steve DeBell, Jason S. Schneiderman, Rudy Garcia, Gerald Sorrells, Greg Guthman, Dave Neighbor, Jason Dozier, Matthew Litwin, Eric Knapp, Jason Roberts, Patrick Cohn, Shannon Tara Ginsburg, Richard Onimus, Kevin Donald Wesley Ballard, Byron Lee, EO, Bob Calder, Jared Lysette, Ulysses Adkins, Brian Condren, Jake Jones, Trainer 84, Kati, Edvardus Rumkis, Brian Hedrick, Cassie Lester, Shara Chavez, Stephen Strowiak, Layla, Marshall Clark, Charlene Davidson Henry, Don Carmarechka, Larry Garcia, Randy Mazuka, Ed Dyer, Tony Steele, Dave Friedel, Daryl Lambert, Robert Aston, Artyom, Michael Perez, Shu Wada, Stephen B., Dave Wilkinson, Steve Mashinsky, Rodney Lewis, Braxton Howard, Phil Nadeau, Rick Ramus, Stalgood Sam, Matt Sutter, Emma Grenier, Philip Shane, James Dobson, Kurt Larson, Stefan Insom, Michael George, Craig Landon, Russell Jensen, Mountain Sloth, Jim Drapeau, Tara Payne, Alex Wilson, Johnny Maloney, Jason Olds, James Noah Wiles, Paul West, Alec Doty, Illuminlama, Joe Wheeler, Dougal Campbell, TMRO, Craig Porter, Adam Mishkan, Aaron Luthen, Marjorie, Paul Stanton, Scott Lajewski, David Simmerly, Tyler Harrison, Ben Rothig, Columbo Ahmed, and Gary Swinsberg. thank you so much for your support on Patreon. If you're interested in supporting us, you can find information at patreon.com/thisweekinscience. Remember that you can also help us out just by telling your friends about This Week in Science. Just tell your friends. That's all you need to do. And on next week's show, once again, we're going to be broadcasting live online, 8 p.m. Pacific Time, twis.org/live. And you can watch and join our chat room there. But don't worry if you can't make it. We're always available. Past episodes are on YouTube, twis.org/YouTube, or just twis.org.
Yeah. Oh, and we've got calendars. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We know you enjoyed the show. TWIS is available, of course, as always, as a podcast. Just Google This Week in Science in your iTunes directory. Or if you have a mobile-type device, you can look for TWIS, the number 4 droid, in the app market of Android, and just put in This Week in Science and anything Apple Marketplace-y, including Apple TV.
For more information on anything you've heard here today, show notes will be available on our website, www.twis.org. You can also make comments and start conversations there with the hosts as well as other listeners.
Yeah, or you can contact us directly if you want. Email Kirsten at thisweekinscience.com, Justin at twistminion@gmail.com, or Blair at blairbaz@twis.org. Be sure, though, to put TWIS, T-W-I-S, somewhere in your subject line. Otherwise, your email will be spam filtered into oblivion. You can also hit us up on the Twitter, where we are at TWIS Science, at Dr. Kiki, at JacksonFly, and at Blair's Menagerie. We love your feedback. If there's a topic you would like us to cover or address, a suggestion for an interview, a haiku that comes to you in the night, please let us know.
We'll be back here next week, and we hope you'll join us again for more great science news.
And if you have learned anything from today's show, remember,
It's all in your head.
This week in science. This week in science. This week in science. This week in science, it's the end of the world. So I'm setting up shop, got my banner unfurled. It says the scientist is in, I'm gonna sell my advice. Show them how to stop the robots with a simple device. I'll reverse global warming with a wave of my hand. And all it'll cost you is a couple of grand. 'Cause this week's science is coming your way. So everybody listen to what I say. I use the scientific method for all that it's worth, and I'll broadcast my opinion all over the earth. 'Cause it's This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 I've got one disclaimer, and it shouldn't be news, that what I say may not represent your views, but I've done the calculations and I've got a plan. If you listen to the science, you may just better understand that we're not trying to threaten your philosophy. We're just trying to save the world from jeopardy. Jeopardy. And This Week in Science is coming your way. So everybody listen to everything we say. And if you use our method instead of rolling a die, we may rid the world of toxoplasma gondii. 'Cause it's This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 I've got a laundry list of items I want to address, from stopping global hunger to dredging Loch Ness. I'm trying to promote more rational thought, and I'll try to answer any question you've got. But how can I ever see the changes I seek when I can only set up shop 1 hour a week? This Week in Science is coming your way. You better just listen to what we say. And if you've learned anything from the words that we've said, then please just remember it's all in your head. 'Cause it's This Week in Science.
This week in science. This week in science. 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 This week in science. This week in science. This week in science. 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 This week in 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 science.
You're muted.
I sang a nice song and everything.
Aw.
I did. I sang a song about my glass of wine.
Oh no. Can we have it again?
Huh?
Can we hear it again?
Nope.
Hmm.
No. Nope.
Nards.
Ah, Josiah's internet died. How sad. He can always rejoin the call if he wants. He has
True.
the invitation. All he has to do is check his email.
True.
True.
I'm trying to make a...
He has his own exit music.
I'm trying to make a little like photo collage with the calendar, but I didn't want to do them all selfies, so I had to use my camera on my computer, but then I have to send it to myself to make it a collage. It's a whole thing.
Collage?
It's more difficult than it needs to be.
Oh, yeah. Take pictures of yourself while you're holding the camera, holding the calendar up.
Yeah, but I didn't want to selfie them.
Screen captures. Oh, why don't I have that app in here anymore?
Do
You still have it?
what?
Okay, hold on. I can do screenshots.
What happened? We lost Josiah?
Yeah.
I need to say goodbye.
He can come back if he wants, but that's his call. He says his internet died. He has the link. He can rejoin the call.
Stupid mail app. Boo on this. Guys, I just want things to work, like, instantaneously and
We're
perfectly.
on the wrong planet.
Oh.
Oh, I don't want drafts. I
Getting there.
want sent mail.
Getting there.
There we go. There we go.
So I
Hold
had-
on. We're making progress now.
It cleared up, but I had really bad choppiness.
Yeah, you were pixelated. You looked like you were in the 1980s pretty much the whole time.
Yeah, because my thing said you need to go to a lower res bandwidth. You need to limit your bandwidth, blah de blah.
Oh, really?
also-
Wow.
Yeah, but it was also like there was more than a dozen. I mean, it was this bad. There was at least a dozen, probably more, where like everything froze, but I knew the show was still going on, and then I'd just sort of wait, and then I'd hear it would be frozen, then it would pick up where it left off, and then skip to the future, which would be the present.
Weird. I know
Really
somebody
odd.
was saying that the audio kept dropping.
Mm. But I kept being nervous that somebody would have asked me a question directly or said something directly to me, and I'd just be like,
For the most part, it was good.
Yeah, I tried to,
There
like,
was no
whenever
delay.
things were frozen, I tried to look like I was thinking.
So maybe I never knew you were frozen when you
Exactly.
were frozen.
Yeah, because I don't think that my outgoing was frozen, because nobody was like, you keep freezing. So I just assumed it was this end.
You assume too
I
much.
do assume things.
So we had a good show, so I got to drink my wine. I'm happy.
Yay!
I was sitting there the whole show, and I was like, I'm going to drink my wine now. And I'm like, no, I'm going to drink my water. I'm going to drink my wine now. No, I'm going to drink my water. I'm going to... The show's still on?
So different
It's
than the
me.
conversation that goes on in my head.
So it's me right now. What's happening is the post show. If
Yay!
you haven't been around for the post show before, this is the part of the show when we're not really doing the show, but we are doing the
Show's
show.
over. Show's over. You can go
Show's
home.
over.
You can go home if you want to.
I can go to bed. Is that what you're saying?
Go.
You don't have to go home, but you can stay here, actually, for a while longer.
Yeah, Josiah was a fantastic guest. I wish we had. Yeah, he was fun to talk to.
Yeah. He seems to have all the right enthusiasms going for what he's doing.
And I think,
And the proactiveness too.
Yes. I mean, I especially love it, like the enthusiasm for educational purposes. So homeschooled kids, classrooms, anybody, if you want to learn about this, what better way to learn than by doing? And how to learn to not be afraid of something by understanding how it actually works. Because really, so much fear is not understanding.
Right, and I there's part of me that's like, oh, well, giving somebody a home genetics kit editing thing is like going to be way over anybody's head to be able to deal with, and directly to the back. Oh, Josiah. So I was just saying, my fear is that the kit's like something that you create. Are going to actually be beyond somebody's ability to do anything.
Oh, he's dancing to the Unsolved Mysteries music. That's right. He's entering. Entrance music. Good job.
And it brought me right back to the parallel you made with the technology thing, which was, if you were going back in the day and IBM is working on its next business computer, and it's like, somebody in a garage, we could send him a computer kit, but it'd be totally worthless because, first of all, you have to know a lot about business to know how this thing is even supposed to be used, let alone what you could actually build with it. So I'm really excited about these kits going out there. I mean, more.
So I'm wondering if we should, as TWIS, if we should purchase a kit.
How about?
Two.
Oh, don't purchase it. How about I'll send you one.
Yeah.
Yes.
I sense several twist shorts.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be fun?
And what I'm.
We could do videos of us doing the science.
This would be so awesome.
What I'm really excited about that idea too is that I just recently long story short, I had what do you call it? Root canal go awry.
Wait, your root canal went awry.
Oh, I didn't tell you this? Yeah, root canal went awry.
You made it sound very fantastic, just like it was great, all done.
No, the actual procedure is great. Oh, yeah, I guess I didn't really inform this.
No.
The night after, because I had it done, I did the show, I think. No, I did it the day after the show, that's right. And then everything was great, everything was fine, but then I got this, like, my face puffed up, and I got this infection, and they had to put me on, like, the biggest antibiotics ever. So now I'm starting from scratch, and I'm feeling the effects of my microbiome being off.
Mm.
But I like the idea that I could go in and I don't care even what I do to the damn thing. I like the idea that I could introduce a custom beneficial bacteria to my gut. One that only I have. For hell or high water, for good or for ill, it's mine. I own this. Right? There's something very egotistical about this that I really like.
Why even think about it like, what happens if you just went to like one of your healthy relatives or friends and took their gut bacteria? It doesn't even have to be engineered. It
doesn't. It doesn't. But that's not the point. See? The point is, it's sort of like how everybody customizes their desktop. It's not that you've customized your desktop better than somebody else's. That doesn't mean that you've customized your desktop necessarily to the most optimal way it could be possibly customized. It's that you put your little fingerprint on it. And that's the part I like on it, which might not, appeal to everybody. But I like that idea.
No, it's interesting, especially when you start talking about like engineering your skin bacteria, right? Maybe to give off a unique scent or unique color or something like that. What happens if they release a volatile compound that's nobody's ever smelled before?
As opposed to Drakkar Noir.
So I wish this kit was around a long time ago too, because there was a time. This would have been how old? This would have been almost 20 years ago. Not quite. But me and a friend were sitting around. He was a microbiologist, and we were sitting around talking about something we could invent, something cool we could do. And we came up with a couple ideas. One of my favorites, though, was glow-in-the-dark ivy, because you could sell this to companies who you could. This is before LEDs, right? So you could reduce the amount of exterior lighting that they utilized by having ivy that went up the whole walls of the outside of the building that glowed in the dark. And so for a good amount of the evening, they wouldn't have to have all the exterior lighting on their building. They could just have the plant wall glowing and putting off enough light.
Love this.
Right?
Yeah.
Fun stuff. So, but if I could have glow in the dark skin.
Oh God.
Ooh.
Right. You
sweat
engineer the bacteria, and you can just rub on your
sweat that shows up under black light. Well, maybe it's not necessarily. No, yeah, this would be that would be fantastic, because then you're in the club, and every time you're doing this, it's like glowing, illuminated as your sweat flies off your head. I mean, yeah, you'd have the pits going, right? That would be the sort of slightly embarrassing part. But the rest of the sweat would also be doing this, and then you could see everybody you've been dancing with in the club, because they'd also be glowing from your sweat.
Yeah.
That would be totally rad.
Justin! You're like a lemur, like marking things with your glands on you. You're like, this is mine now. You're mine now.
When's the last time you've been to a club? At least in my day, that's what it was about.
Yeah, but you can't see it.
But that's why it would be so cool.
Gross.
And then if you could get it to actually not just illuminate but glow in a spectrum, you could start with, like, I started with blue, you might have had red, she had pink, there was all these different colors of people customizing their sweat. By the end...
Like, oh, that person's brown. That's not good.
We got this... we either have a rainbow effect, you're right, they'd all blend and everybody
would be brown, yeah.
Right, yeah. Okay. Can something glow brown? I'm not sure that's...
Sure! It'd be like orange, reddish. I don't know. Don't ask me about colors.
Okay, so Josiah, what could we do? So we've got these kits coming. What's the most likely thing we'd be able to pull off?
Well, so, I mean, there's a bunch of different types of kits. So they all have example experiments, right? They have ones that you can engineer bacteria to bioluminesce, so like glow at night.
Nice.
Ones that you can,
I like that.
Ones you can make them fluoresce. So fluorescence, right, is like an excitation and emission at a different wavelength. Change color, right? So there's a couple different stuff where there's like example experiments. As per like what you eventually could do, like the options are pretty much endless. So you can like have your whole sweat party and like
sweat party. No. Oh.
I'm displeased.
The future is so exciting.
This is really feeding into my weird thing about people that don't shower enough.
Yeah, I know, Blair.
Well, I kind of had to get over it anyway, because everything I own, every article of clothing I have has lint all over it somehow.
Lint is nothing.
No, but every time I go under a black light, I'm like, oh yeah, this jacket is covered in lint. I forgot all about that. But now everybody can see I'm
Oh, yeah, I see.
I'm illuminated.
You go to blacklight
Because of my
parties a
light.
lot, Justin?
Okay. So I am like we know, a decade older than you. And so, yes, I went to.
No, I thought you meant like now, which is what I was having trouble with. I was picturing you like
How come you
putting Soupy to bed and then being like, all right, I'm going to a rave.
got the kids to bed. Everybody's just read the stories. Everybody's gone to sleep.
And
I'm
then you're
hitting
like,
the town. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Why wouldn't I? Yeah.
The 90s were big for that. I tell
Oh,
you. You were a baby, Blair. You were a wee babe.
I was indeed.
Did not go into those raves in the 90s, were ya?
No,
No.
not really. But at my middle school dances, we had like glow sticks and pacifiers and stuff because we thought we were cool.
So I went. It wasn't a rave, but I went to what was it? It was in the late 90s, and it was I can't remember what it was called. It was in the foothills, but it was a big everyone went and camped out, and it was a music festival for the weekend.
Russian River?
No, not the Russian River. It was in the foothills. So like Sierra, it was in the it still goes on. It's still a festival it's every summer, spring, summer, and so it's like people like Michael Franti and Ani DeFranco and and jam bands and stuff like that. And I ended up going with my boyfriend at the time and camping, and we had our little camp area, and then we're hanging out, and we were drinking some wine, and some guy ended up coming into our camp area, and I do not know what he had been on or had taken or drunk. He was talkative, he was moving, he was doing stuff, and all of a sudden he like finds some glow sticks in his backpack, and he like cracks the glow sticks, and he's like, crack, he's got the glow sticks, and he's like, you want to see something? You want to see something? And he like does this like weird spastic dance with the glow sticks, and he goes, see that? See that? Never been to a rave.
Oh boy. Oh.
Well,
seriously, one of my favorite lines ever. See that?
I think his assumption was, and it was on his part, but you were on the wrong drugs.
Probably.
You were on the wrong drugs for what he was pitching. Because
not
having at one point in my life been on the right drug to hear something. Somebody came up very confusedly and was like looking around, and we were all like, okay, because we're all in our observation, noticing thing, realizing thing mode, and the guy said, yeah, I'm looking for a short, fat, tall, skinny guy with a long shaved beard. Have you seen him? And we were all like, wah! Because that sometimes is all it takes.
Yep.
If you're on the right drug at the right time.
But you will say no more. I think we might have to have another 24-hour Twistathon to have like more and more of these stories come out. Maybe in the middle of the night after a few Pabsts.
I like forests and wine. Forests and wine is a good combination.
Yeah, forests and wine go great together.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
We could just find a way to broadcast from the wilderness.
It's called pre-recording.
Darn it. Because I just thought that would be a really fun way
But
to
I
do
do
like a
love
24-hour broadcast
it would
would be
be.
to do it from the wilderness.
Yeah, but I love your dedication to the live showness. This is your
Well, you do. Here's what you do: is you buy like a 400-foot Ethernet cable, and we take Kiki's RV.
Right.
It can be done.
400 feet.
400 feet. We'll drive 400 feet into the wilderness and then
Not walk.
stop.
No, we're gonna take an RV that 400 feet.
Yeah.
Because there's like bugs and stuff outside.
Yeah.
I don't want to be like exposed.
No, I more mean that like the ranger station probably has internet, so you're just like, excuse me, and you plug in there, and then you just go 400 feet from the ranger station, and then you're all set.
Excuse me, Sir Ranger, Ma'am Ranger. I'm going to take your internet now. Thank you.
I can has internets.
And has in the forest with my wine. Yes.
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 Flying Out asks, what's the right drug for watching TWIS?
Ha ha ha! I believe it's homeopathic vodka. Homeopathic vodka.
Not
all you need.
oxytocin. That's what we learned today.
Not
Unless
ladies.
you're Justin.
If you're Justin,
If you're a guy and
a
you
nasal
actually
snort of
feel
oxytocin.
love, then yeah. If you're a woman and you're just faking love, just as we learned tonight, unfortunately, this is what's happening, people. It's not me making this up. This is what science is telling us.
Big Kidwell is saying, please tell me that's not a real thing. No, homeopathic vodka was a joke because I've been drinking these
clearly
large
water.
glasses of vodka for several years on the air.
Mm-hmm.
And so Zayner, I believe, is the one who coined it as the homeopathic vodka.
I don't know. I think it depends on like what drugs have we been on doing this show. You know, when we
You've been on antibiotics.
no, but I mean when the show in the early years of the show, when we were on at like 6 in the morning or 7 in the morning.
We were never on at 6 in the morning.
Whatever.
The show started at 8:30.
It was so early in the morning. That by the
It
time I
wasn't
got
as
to
early
the
as when
show-
I was broadcasting from Israel, Justin.
No.
Right. By the time I got to the show, I'd already had a pot of coffee. So those shows, I think, were probably a little bit more quickly spoken, energetic, and on time. And as we transitioned to doing the shows in the late evenings, you know, we're doing the show late in the evening. We're already a little bit slower. Plus, we may be having a little homeopathic vodka or beer along with the show. Show slowed down a little bit. I think it depends on which era of show you're listening to.
Probably, yeah. I mean, I've had to not drink my wine before the show because I get sleepy.
Yeah, I've discovered that too.
And I've discovered that my eyes have been getting progressively worse over the years. So I'm slowing down just so I can read
Right,
what
that's
I've
it.
laid out to talk about during the show.
That's it.
It's getting more and more difficult.
Yeah, so if Josiah ever gets around to growing his cat and eye, maybe he can get you a couple too.
Ooh, that would be a good one. Yeah. Some corneal flexibility, lens flexibility addition. That would be a huge improvement for many, many people.
B. Kidwell wants to see a cannabis-infused TWIS. Well, it's legal in Portland, right? Oregon, where I am.
All right, we're gonna have to fly out.
I don't do this stuff though, so it'll be you guys.
We could do a short.
Because really, if it's a cannabis-infused TWIS, it'll be a TWIS short because you'll see me go and start rocking and crawl into the corner and then pass out.
Yeah, that's kind of my
I'm
deal
like,
too.
paranoid. Okay, now I'm sleeping.
Kiki, no, I'm kind of right with you. I
I'll
feel
probably
like
just stare off into space and leave the room.
I feel like it's that drug is as if somebody took the gravity from 1 and put it up to like 2.5. Like I would just be like, all right, I'm gonna get a little bit lower because the weight of my body is crushing my chair now. So I'm gonna be down here. But
Let's do this show now. And this is TWIS on weed.
I think I would just be like, have you ever imagined what it'd be like to look out on the Martian landscape? Sit there and imagine it right now. Hey.
That's awesome.
Whoa. Like I see myself there right now. Like waving the rover.
Where's my oxygen coming from? Can I go home now? How long's that trip? And is there snacks on board? Because I'm getting hungry.
Oh, it's good.
You guys ever thought about how weird the word oxygen is? Oxygen.
Wait, are you going right now? What are you talking about?
Oxygen.
Oxygen isn't a very breathable word.
Oxygen.
That's what's weird about it. It's not very breathable.
It's totally, it's me laughing, everybody asking weird questions, Justin being
Wait, no.
paranoid.
Some words
and
perform
freezing.
what they do, and some words don't. I think we should readdress all words and make them like the word poop. The word poop
No, the word
performs
poop
what
is
it does.
perfect.
It starts puckered,
Ah.
opens up, and it puckers again at the end. The word poop is absolutely performing the act of what it's telling you it is. It's the
Oh,
Oh, the internet is
Bad
not
enough.
liking him. I've never thought of the word poop in that way before, but now I will never be able to get it
just
out
think
of my
about
head.
poop.
it start. It makes your mouth start. You
See,
start puckering.
working at a zoo, I've had this
Go to a
conversation
double O
many
thing,
times.
and then you close again at the end with another pucker.
We
That's
have had so many discussions over the years about the words for feces. This is not a new topic for me at all.
If you have feces,
Wow.
then you've got a problem. You need more fiber in your diet if you have feces.
Oh,
That's
so
going
like-
out too quick.
Because at NASA, I've tried to work with a couple people on solid waste recycling, and it's so funny when somebody comes up to talk to you about it because they're like, yeah, and so we want to work on that, and they're thinking of the word in their head, and they're like, should I use feces, shit, poop, crap? And then they say something like, yeah, we're gonna, do this experiment on the poop, and everybody's sitting there and they're like, try not to giggle.
Yeah. Excrement, fecal
and
matter.
then, they're like, this is a very serious topic. You're like, I know! Can't
I
stop laughing.
had to help my friend design this instruction packet on how to sample poop from autistic children. They were looking at hormones in the poop or something, and so they were trying to figure out how to write this instruction packet, and sound clinical, and not like use the word poop, but at a certain point, like, you run out of options.
Just poop. Sample the
Yes.
poop.
Yeah.
Feces.
It's the best word.
Fecal,
I think-
fecal matter
Fecal
is really
matter.
the most scientific, I think.
But even
is
that's funny.
about
That's
fecal
not funny.
matter.
Fecal matter.
Yeah.
This is a very fecal matter that I want to discuss.
This is no fecal matter.
You're shitting me.
Kiki, you swore.
What?
On the air. Oh
That's
my
not
goodness.
going on to the radio broadcast.
Second
This
time
is the
ever.
post show.
Do you guys want to see what I looked like in 1999?
Yes. Hey, what are you doing? There.
Right there.
Oh, look at you. Look at
Oh,
you. There's Blair. You're so little.
Yeah.
You're wearing glasses.
Yeah.
So cute.
I wore Harry Potter glasses before Harry Potter existed, you guys. Just so you know.
This is why she's a fan. We know.
I've been looking through my yearbooks so that I could remember people for my reunion
So
coming up.
when is your reunion?
The 23rd.
23rd.
Yes. Indeed.
Josiah, have you been to a high school reunion? What?
no.
No.
But don't you want to go and talk about your awesome successes?
No.
You know what? I'm an introvert. I just like to sit at home and do science and hang out by myself. So
hang out by yourself, except in IRCs or other people.
oh yeah, but IRC is just so awesome.
Right.
You used to be able to slap people with a big large trout. I don't know if you could do that anymore.
You probably
Wait, what?
can.
Slap people with a trout. Wait, how do you do this?
He's got the commands. He's like, I know the commands.
Oh, there you go.
I've been slapped with a big trout.
Oh, no.
Oh.
How dare you, sir?
That hurts.
How dare you do that?
And we have in college. I had some friends who they put together a big slingshot in the back of a truck, and they went out fishing and caught some big fish. And then they would doorbell ditch our friends. And as people came to the door, they would fling the fish at them. So
Wow.
they would line up the truck, the back of the bed of the truck, with the slingshot. And when somebody came to the door and opened it, they would let it go. And one of our friends ended up with a big trout across the chest. It laid him out. Trout! The trout has you down!
That would not be what I would expect when I open my front doors.
Right?
Fish flying at me.
Who expects a fish?
This is perhaps good reason not
Who
to.
expects a fish? Nobody expects the fish.
Nobody expects a fish.
Nobody expects the fish.
Oh
The
my
only
god.
thing fishy I ever experienced at my front door was Jehovah's Witnesses.
That'll do it. That'll do it.
Very fishy.
I think I had somebody try to tout their faith at my door recently, and I just started
You
laughing.
think?
Yes, I did. I'm trying to remember how recent it was, but it definitely happened, and I just started laughing, and I was like, you have no idea how much this is the wrong house. Have a great day.
You're like, I'm sorry, I'm just going to laugh right now. I can't
Yes.
stop laughing. I don't know how to stop
because-
laughing. You should go.
There is not a worse house for you to be at right now.
So here's what you do say. Here's what you do say. You say, okay, before you engage in this, the last 3 people who came to the door from your organization, after talking to me, left the church. Do you want to keep talking to me? If they say yes, you already have it. Okay, so you actually want to leave the church. This is the decision you just made.
You
just told me that you're looking for a way out. I get it, and I'll help you. There's an organization. There's another God out there that's getting more play than yours these days. Atheismo. And Atheismo is a good God. He's not going to tell you everything that you're supposed to do, but he's not going to try to shame you into it. But that's always a good question. Tell them that everyone who's come to the door, who's talked to you, has at the end of the conversation walked away from their religion. And if they still want to talk to you, they've just telegraphed that they're looking for a way out. This is ridiculous. I'm going door to. Maybe it's just because the door-to-door part sucks, and that's what they're stuck doing right now. But,
I have space.
good news for Twitter. More happy emoticons, more upbeat emoticons than negative emoticons. Just came across the newswire.
Okay.
Twitter is positive. Thank you.
I would hope so.
Janisku7 asked if we have any more space news, and I say we have space news. I just received an email from NASA, and people are worried about the autonomous self-driving Nissan car around our campus because the driving seat is in the right-hand side, so it looks like nobody's driving it. The email said, "Don't worry, everything's okay. Everything's okay. The self-driving Nissan car is being driven by somebody on the right-hand side."
Oh my god.
But it is an autonomous car.
Yeah. No, so it's weird because we're on the Ames campus in Silicon Valley,
Right.
and it's like a ton of road that is cut off to all public access. So you need like a government ID badge and everything to get in, like a background check. So like Google and Nissan and all these companies like pay NASA just to come and drive on our roads.
Because they won't run anyone over if something goes wrong.
Yeah. There's nobody out there. So We get all
That's
these
a
self-driving cars around, and people get worried about them because there's a lot of old people on the NASA campus, and they're like, "Hey, kids, what are you doing? New finagled cars."
I got a little space news.
That's awesome. I love that. People.
In the basement under Niels Bohr Institute building in Copenhagen, Denmark, depending on how you pronounce it. They found astronomical observations on these, old style photographic plates that go back 120 years. So this is 120 years of astronomical observations that we didn't really have recorded in the digital age of recording or talking about or knowing they existed, including, where was it here?
A Dyson sphere?
Including a solar eclipse that
Oh.
we didn't have any other physical evidence of occurring or pictures of before. Astronomy archaeology, some are calling it.
That's cool.
Mm.
Yeah, so Janitsky is excited. The Finns are going to space, right? With reactor, sending a satellite into space.
Are they really?
Isn't that
I
something?
think
There's
the Finns
a
would do well in space.
reactor? No, there's something. The Finns are sending a satellite into space. There's a
I think
Finnish
the
space
Finns would
program.
do well in space, partly because it would be warmer.
In Finland. Yeah.
And better lit.
During the winter, possibly.
Yeah, it wouldn't have that 6 months of darkness that consumes them.
Yeah. Finland's beautiful, though. They have reindeer.
Oh, we already talked about this. How my daughter tried
They
to
have
go
fish
pet the
slapping
reindeer.
day, don't they?
Wait, what? Finland has fish slapping day? Really?
Well, you get slapped with a fish. That's how this works.
It's a
not
Monty
you
Python
slapping
song.
a fish.
I know.
You getting slapped
Slap,
by it.
slip, slap, slay, slip, slap, slap a play o day.
I don't know that song.
I'm finding it.
I know. I don't know that song. Monty Python. Oh yeah, and then what else is Finland doing? Finland is taking a step towards a basic income for everyone. And I don't know what that means because I haven't read all the articles yet. But there's something that they're doing where what I believe they're doing is it's everyone's going to get a certain amount of money, no matter what. Government will give everybody a certain income every year. So you've always got a little thing, a little bit of money from everyone. Seems like a good plan. I don't know. This is something that I keep reading about more and more, and as we're on, kind of futuristic. What was that?
That was a ghost in the machine.
I know. That was creepy.
Everything's under control. A
Okay.
little digital feedback.
That was super creepy.
Wait, did you guys hear that?
Yeah.
What happened?
That might have been for me.
I was watching
it was
fish slapping.
I think it was Justin or something. I don't know.
No, it wasn't me. It was just.
I think I did something. I think because I was watching a fish slapping video, and I think it might.
Ah. Yeah. So the question about the Finnish basic, hot rod, the government will increase taxes, take back, whatever. Okay. But the question is, while we're talking about futuristic stuff, there's this idea, we're going to talk about artificial intelligence and robots for a second, that as artificial intelligence and self-driving cars get better and better at what they're doing, there's a plan by Uber to eventually replace its fleet with self-driving autonomous vehicles so that they don't have to pay drivers anymore. If they have a self-driving autonomous fleet, that's going to affect the economy in multiple ways that we cannot even determine at this point. And so there's the potential for a lot of people to lose their jobs within like the next 10 or 15 years, if this technology moves as rapidly as we think it's going to. So, question: as artificial intelligence is moving forward, people aren't going to be hired for basic jobs anymore because computers can do them. You don't need, creative thinkers for robotic jobs, things that can be done that are repetitive, where actually people get damaged more easily than robots do. So, people don't get jobs. Then what are they going to do?
Chuck Norris impersonation.
Chuck Norris impersonation. Okay, perfect. I can't do that. Damn it.
Well, this is the classic.
So do we give everyone a basic income so that everybody can at least survive?
Absolutely.
And
so
what do we do?
So if you go back to the 50s and look at the future of automation, where your robot does your laundry, folds it, your self-driving hover car, your everything else, life is easy. You have robots taking over everything. In reality, what's happened is we got all the robots, but they were owned by a few people who took all of your manufacturing jobs. They took your accounting job because the computer can now do all the accounting in-house on a spreadsheet. They took your HR job because now the computer can say what you can, puts you through the training, gives you the basics, blah, blah, blah. Like all these different jobs, not just in manufacturing, but throughout the spectrum of the jobs that people do, have been taken away by automation over time. So you have to decide, do you still have people functioning in that society as an economy, or do you have them living without having to work? And that's been the question that nobody's wanted to answer. And so when one part of the political spectrum says everybody needs to work, and if you don't work, then you shouldn't get anything, and nobody should pay taxes because they're earning, and on the other side you're saying, yeah, well, there's this distribution thing that's been taking place, and if our whole society is going towards automation through all of our efforts over time, then we should all benefit from it. Then you have the classic left-right struggle. But
Right.
I totally agree. The future either demands complete corporate, not even corporate, but a sort of dictatorship fiefdom of the world where some have everything and the rest are living on that person's land, or complete socialist view where we realize that all of the resources aren't going to be manned by human intervention on the details anymore, and that we should all have this sort of basic income to go out and do raves and be creative and have
Yeah, I want to do raves and be creative.
Yeah, and this is the promise of the 50s, was that automation would take away all the hard effort of being mankind, and what we got instead was a little bit more 1984-ish, I suppose, where the automation is taking away economy from people.
But don't you think? Okay, so first of all.
Yes, I do. First of all, second of all, what?
Fine, never mind.
No. Second of all, go ahead. You asked me if I think, and I said yes. What's your second question?
First of all, do you really think?
Yes, I do. I really do. Do I have to reiterate it at this point? Yes, I really do.
Smack you.
Oh, you wish you could. If only that robotic leg or arm was
in just a few weeks, I will be in slapping distance for hours on an airplane. So
Days,
you better watch
even.
it.
Wait, what do you mean hours? Are you abandoning me when we get to New York? You're just going to leave me in the subway?
You could create distance while we're walking down the street in New York, but
On the
while we're
plane,
strapped into the airplane, you'd have to just sit there. Anyway. Capitalist society. Do we think?
Yes, we do think, and this is why it's important that we
Okay, I'm directing this at everyone that isn't Justin. I'll just skip to the second part. The second part is if we don't have to pay people to do these kind of menial tasks, will there be money to fund more research to then allow ourselves to live on this planet the way we are trying to, and is not sustainable to do so right now?
Okay,
That's the question, is where's that money? Will money suddenly be available to fund higher level jobs that right now, like NASA, doesn't have as much funding as it used to have. Like, that's the question, is if we have robots able to do these things, will that free up capital for other things?
No.
Or will the people servicing and creating the robots just get that money?
So first of all, you have to understand what money is. And money is just a contract between men that you can take work applied in one area, pick it up and move it and take it somewhere else and apply it somewhere else. This is the contract of democracy. So when you're saying you're giving money, you're giving time. In this ultimate economy of technology, doing so many of the tasks for us, you're freeing up time for people to apply themselves towards things. So with more people freed up to apply themselves to education, all you need to do is have the educational infrastructure in place for them to get to the point where they can apply an educated view on something. So yeah,
that's the question: will that materialize with this?
So not materialize out of nothing. If you go with a Bernie Sanders type person, not specifically perhaps, but in this election cycle, there's only one Bernie Sanders, who's talking about getting rid of tuition for public schools.
That'd be nice.
It's just tuition. It's not the dorm. It's not the meals plan. It's not the textbooks, but whatever.
Or how about the student loan forgiveness, just making that a little bit easier?
Yeah, once upon a time. This is the thing. When my mother went to school, who would have been older than your parents perhaps, state education was free in California. Can you believe that?
No, I can't.
We were there. And what came from that was the baby boomers who created the entire digital revolution and every bit of technology that we've seen since. This is who created it, people who got free education at public schools, so at the higher level. So when we're talking about distribution of wealth, we have to think of it either as a society, what's good for society, or what's good as a purely capitalistic society. And I'm a capitalist. That's how I've made my money. I love being a capitalist. I think capitalism is important because I think capitalism can differentiate good ideas from bad ideas in the public, in the media. I think people can speak with dollars, and I think products are better based on dollars to a great extent. But I don't think that you can have capitalistic education. I don't think that works. I think you absolutely need a socialist education to have a really good capitalistic economy. And for people who are very ideological on being pro-capitalism and anti-tax, and people who are pro-socialism and anti-wealth distribution inequality, I think they both have really good points, and they're both wrong about the final solution, which is you need both. You need some things to be completely socialist. You need education and research to be funded regardless of having a monetary impact immediately, and I think you have a better capitalist economy if you have educated people and well-funded research to back it up. So, yeah, and I think a minimum thing. It's like people complain about welfare. One of the great things about welfare is if there are those people who would rather live on $900 a month, they're now not affecting the economy of people who want to work. If people want to go out and have jobs, those people who really don't want to have jobs, if those are part of that economy of welfare, aren't impacting that. The only other way we can reduce the number of people who are unemployed is to delegate some segment of our population is ineligible to working. We can go back to the days when women aren't allowed to work. Say, yes, now we have 100% employment of men, and actually companies are competing to get the best of those men. They're paying them higher wages to get the best of that. No. This is my point. This is the I don't. That's not what I'm saying. I'm believing. What I'm saying, though, is the welfare system, on one hand, prevents people from starving and dying, which is a good thing. On another hand, pulls out of the workforce those people who are actually, I'm good at this tiny denomination of funds, and so there's less competition to get jobs, which leads to higher wages and a better economy. Oh no! Oh no!
What are you doing?
Josiah's been attacked by a blue squid. We're back.
Yep, it's gonna pop.
It is gonna pop soon. Did you know that there's a hashtag on Twitter right now? Are you Doctor Who fan? Anyone here?
Yeah.
Doctor Who. Instead of Doctor Who, it's Doctor Pooh, and it's hashtag TWIS.
Oh. Oh, is that an at midnight hashtag? Probably.
I don't know. There's a TARDIS here. I'll show you the picture. There's a TARDIS.
Oh, I don't want to see it. Does it have poop in it?
No.
Does it make poop?
No, it doesn't have poop in it, but it's a toilet. It's a police box toilet. It's actually one of the nicest looking porta potties that I've ever seen. TWIS. There's a Doctor Who festival, I guess. That's
Oh my god.
TWIS.
Let's
Yeah.
go there. Eat up all the nerds.
Oh my goodness. What? Dr. Pooh, TWIS.
Anyway, do you guys see the latest Doctor Who?
No, I'm way behind.
Oh, for real? Well, this season hasn't been that good, so oh well.
That's what I've been hearing, so I'm gonna end up watching it anyway, but yeah, so I've watched up to the end of last season. So I know that the new Doctor, and I think the most recent episode I saw was maybe the beginning of this season, where he was fighting a giant dinosaur or something in England.
I don't know. That's probably all of them, I guess.
No. It's funny though, now my son, he's 4.5, he's very excited. He's really into Doctor Who and he likes watching it with us, and it's cool. So we started from the Christopher Eccleston episodes, and we're now like in the middle of the first season with Christopher Eccleston, and Kai is just so into it. He's like, I love Doctor Who. This is great. This was the best episode ever. And I'm like, Kai, was this scary at all? Were you bothered? He's like, no, that wasn't scary.
Oh my gosh! What about the one with the Minotaur?
I haven't gotten to the Minotaur yet. There are a few episodes that I think I might not show him.
That one traumatized me. I still think about it.
No, but like we just saw the one. It was the one where it was the "Are You My Mummy" episode.
Oh, that one's super creepy.
It's super creepy, right? And Kai's just like, oh, he's okay. They're all right, and their faces are turning into gas masks,
Ew.
and he's just like,
Man.
okay, whatever. I watched all of the Doctor Who while I was at home with Kai when he was a little baby, and I remember just being at home alone watching these episodes going, that's really freaky. Oh my god. I'm freaked out, and here my 4.5-year-old is like, no, it's fine. He's had no nightmares, nothing. He's cool. It's funny. It's good. And he loves it. He's like, I love Doctor Who. I love it.
Oh, I'm wearing a Doctor Who shirt right now.
Oh.
Knock, knock.
Knock, knock. Who's there? Who's there? Who's there? Ha 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 ha. Like, Kai has like this new, he started telling jokes. So he goes, knock, knock. And I go, who's there? And he goes, why did the chicken cross the road? like,
No, that's not how this works.
Why did the chicken cross the road? And then he
Yeah,
goes,
but maybe he's got next level jokes, right?
right. Exactly. That's probably what it is.
Okay, Blair.
I think it's like he thinks that if he's going to tell a joke, he has to say knock knock.
Blair, ready? Blair,
Yes?
ready?
Yeah.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Take up.
Take up who?
Ah!
Yeah.
I didn't get it.
Let's go back to our poop conversation.
Yeah. Our humor has been very like second grade today. Lots of poo talk.
Identity 4, I'm glad you like my child's jokes. I do too. But I'm his mom. Are you my mummy? Yes, I am. I am your mummy.
No, don't say that. That's so creepy. I'm not gonna
Night Night writes for robots. Creepy. Let's see. Do we have any
How many
business?
calendars do you have left? Are they
How many
dwindling?
calendars? How many calendars do I have? I was trying to calc. It is starting to dwindle. I have
Oh.
So,
And take a calendar out for Josiah, because we got to send him a calendar.
Yeah. We'll have to send Josiah a
is that
calendar.
Hypnotoad on the front?
Hypnotoad. It's not Hypnotoad, but it's like Hypnotoad.
It's a horned frog.
Yes.
Hypnotoad!
It's totally Hypnotoad.
I'm pretty sure Hypnotoad was modeled after a horned frog. Here, I'll screen share a picture of a horned frog.
Yeah, can I get autographs on it so I can put it on eBay, like Dave says?
No.
What? Dave, do you think you're going to get more money because you chewed on yours? What? Here, one calendar, lightly chewed.
Oh my god. I like snorted out loud when I saw that picture that Dave shared. I was at work and I was like, and everyone thought I had like choked on something because I saw Dave's picture. See, look, this is a horned frog right here. It looks just like Hypnotoad.
Totally Hypnotoad.
That's a horned frog right there.
Yeah.
And
That one in the upper left, that
This
one with
one.
camo. That guy's camo, totally.
This one. This is a Choco horned frog. This is actually what I modeled the cover after. Was a Choco horned frog. The Choco horned frog is also called. Does anyone remember? I've talked about it a bunch of times.
You have, and I do not remember.
Good guess. The Pac-Man frog.
The Pac-Man frog.
Yes. Also, for some reason, I am now frog colored. Can you guys see this?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Google's like, you're a frog. There you go.
I'm green now.
Magic ain't easy being green, is it?
What the heck?
That's what my son says. Oh my gosh. Oh, you're normal again. Here you go.
That was so weird.
What the heck?
Yeah. Kiki, you're coming to the Bay Area, right?
Someday.
Soon?
No.
Oh. Shucks.
No, I was going to be coming down for the holidays, but that's not happening now. So I'm staying up here, but bummer.
Can you send me one more of these?
Yeah, I can send you one more. You're hiding behind your calendar.
Please. It's for my parents for the holidays.
Oh, so you want me to get it there before Christmas?
No, just before New Year's is fine.
Yeah, I can get you one, of course.
Because
that's right, because they're not the Christmas types.
Well, my father is. But,
okay.
Well, we still kind of celebrate Christmas. We celebrate both. But I'll give them this one, and then I'll just take the one that's...
They have a better decorated tree than I do.
Was it up when we went
Yes.
to... No.
Yes, it was. It was still up. And I appreciated the fact that it was still up.
But didn't we go later last year?
Yes. It was still up.
I didn't remember. Are you
It was
sure?
still up. They went beyond Boxing Day with the tree.
Well, Boxing Day is just the day after Christmas.
Boxing Day is the day after Christmas, yeah. That's
Or what is it? Okay, well, they were well beyond it then.
Huh.
Oh yeah, Y guy, Wisconsin guy. Yeah, I'm gonna be on Twit this Sunday.
Ooh.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I'm gonna be on Twit with Leo and Tom and Becky Worley.
Nice. What are you talking about?
I don't know, but I'm imagining that there will be something about the whole Google quantum computer. So I'm guessing that we'll be talking about that at some point, but I have no idea. So I'm hoping the producer will send me some information about what I'm supposed to talk about on the show, because at this point, I got nothing. I'm just going to come in and be like, hi,
It don't matter.
I
You'll
like
rock it.
science. Science goes with tech. It's
You're
basis
a
of
you're a
tech,
science encyclopedia at this point.
right? Yeah, but if they start talking about like televisions that are coming out next year, I'm going to be like,
Gadgeties.
Yeah,
that's awesome. I can't even talk with you about that because I have a TV, so I don't care about TVs. My TV's not broken, so I don't care about anybody else's TVs. Sorry. That's the thing. When you're into gadgets, you're like, even though you have a TV, you want the better TV. So you're always looking. And you're like, what else is there? What else is there? What is it? But I'm like, I have a TV. I don't need another TV. I'm fine, and so I don't care. So, however, I am always like, what's the next camera? I like cameras. I like sound stuff. Tell me about a microphone. Tell me about those lights. Tell me about that. So the stuff that I'm doing, that's what I get into.
Yeah, Blair, tell us about a microphone.
Tell us about your microphone. How did you get it working?
Well, I threw a couple things. I restarted my computer. It still didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
I quit Google Chrome, and I went into my system preferences, and I like banged on my keyboard out of anger. And then I switched it to the default microphone, the built-in microphone on my computer. And then I switched it back. And then I opened up Chrome again, and it magically worked.
It is. It's like
that's what that's the
you
thing
have to
with
do this
Apple
little
equipment.
magic dance.
With
Yeah.
Apple equipment, like you can't actually do any like troubleshooting. You just have to turn things off and on again. Give it a minute. And talk with it and reason with it, and then it'll start to work. That's been my experience.
Reason with it.
Yeah. Like I threw my headphones on the floor. Right now, my headset's on the floor. I threw that around a little bit.
Like, I'm gonna throw this around. Throw that
I just got
around.
mad and I threw it on the ground.
I saw you curse.
I cursed a lot.
I didn't hear you, but I saw those lips move.
Yeah, it was not suitable for the public airwaves. Coming out of my mouth.
Yeah, there have been some interesting articles though about Apple recently and how it's gotten away from its roots of being usable, so that it actually works all the time, and that it's beautiful, but it's also something that just works. So the reason that Apple has always been something that people have wanted to use is that you don't have to know how it works under the hood.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be plug and play. That was like the big way that I learned
User
about Apple.
friendly.
User friendly. So you turn it on, you plug it in, you turn it on, and it works. And there's been a lot of talk recently about the fact that that's not how it works anymore. And now especially with like they're constantly like update to the next OS, update to the next OS, and then your software doesn't work, and then this doesn't work, and then you're just like, ah. It's like,
that's what I was worried about, because I logged into Google Hangouts today, and all of my pre-saved settings that normally just pops up on its own, all gone. My lower third was gone. Everything was gone. And that's when I was like, uh-oh, something's wrong. But I think it is because, Google is constantly updating, and now also the Mac software is constantly updating. And all it takes is like one time for the wires to cross just wrong. I was about to try another browser.
There you go.
I've done that. You don't want to do it. Don't try another browser.
I know. Well, you would think the Google interface was meant for Google Chrome, so I try to just use Google Chrome for this because, when I used to use Safari back in the day, it was a mess.
Right. No Safari. Don't know.
Yeah.
Just don't.
But I was about to do that when I was throwing things.
All right, I've reached the hour of my having to go.
Okay,
Good
let's
night,
go.
everybody.
Oh, laser beams. You're Josiah's shooting us with laser beams.
See you next week.
Pew pew.
Ooh. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching us. Looking forward to seeing you next week. Josiah, it was so good talking with you. Thanks for hanging out. Glad you came back. He's gonna dance his way out.
See you later.
Bye. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. I hope you have a great night. Cheers. Bye. Bye, Blair.
Bye. See you
See you
next
later.
week.
Okay. Bye.